went on. So we selected a couple of people to to look at it as it went on, so they could experience what someone who's actually experiencing cyberbullying and harassment and sexual harassment, what it
Okay.
could feel like from their perspective. So it gives
Okay.
you a whole nother experience, as if you're the one that's experiencing it, to help people kind of empathize with
Sure.
what someone is going
Yes.
through. Because a lot of times, because we think of social media, we may not feel as though it carries the same weight as traditional bullying, old school bullying. So yeah, it was a really good piece, and it was very interactive. And then there's a piece where we're using different symbols and emojis to point out how things can look subtle, but it really could be inappropriate if you know what's going on. And just to
Okay.
be mindful of what you send, because what may be second nature to you might be, highly offensive to someone else.
Yes, definitely. That's right. That's right. And not only that, but then as our student has talked about, she says she is on social media, but she doesn't do a lot of posting.
Hmm.
And, that brings to mind that people can post things of you without your knowledge or consent.
Yeah,
So there is a sense in terms of using it responsibly, not only for yourself, but also for others.
exactly. And then and see, that's the piece, and that's one of the major points to that. Individuals may think something is harmless, and really it's detrimental to your livelihood, because you don't really take into consideration how it impacts someone else, or how it could impact someone else. And what we do know about cyber assault and cyberbullying is that, depending on the individual, it could cause them to be traumatized to an extent of inflicting or attempting self-harm. And that's what we don't want to happen. And then, when things like that happen, now you're in a whole nother criminal bracket of punishment and repercussions. I think we
And
have a.
Deval,
Mhm.
it speaks right to what our student is saying in the chat, what Sadie is saying is it Sadie or Sade?
It's Sade.
Sade. What Sade is saying in the chat here, and in terms of she's had someone post pictures of her without her consent and use images of her to catfish others.
Yeah, and so that's just illegal on so many different levels.
Yeah, yeah. Do you mind saying a little more about that, Sade?
Sure, I don't mind sharing.
Thank you.
No problem. Girlfriend and I, we started a relationship help blog a few years ago, and our first initial social media site was through Facebook, and that's where we had most of our, activity. And then we got pretty popular on Instagram. And because we're in the DC area, we joined a Facebook group, and it would link bloggers in the area with other bloggers. So this one fashion and makeup blog was like, hey, would anybody mind sharing how they look in nude lipstick? And, being an African American woman, a lot of women think we can't wear nude lipstick because Caucasian women nude and African American nude are two different nudes.
Okay, all right. And we won't even go into what stockings do, okay?
Right. So I'm a makeup enthusiast. So I reached out to her and I was like, oh my gosh, I would love to share how I love nude lipstick and could, show women of color that we can totally rock nude and it's a hue for everyone. So that post went viral and she used me as the cover image for her post. And literally, as soon as that post went viral online, I had so many people hit me up who were on dating websites and was like, oh, I didn't know you was on Plenty of Fish. Oh, I didn't know you was on Christian Mingle. Oh, I didn't know. And I was like, wait, what? I'm on nothing.
Oh my God.
What's going on?
Oh,
Like, I don't even. I love doing the blogging because I can type and no one can see me. So how? What do you mean? I'm on nothing. I'm a old school romantic. I just
Wow.
want to bump into you in Wegmans and say, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" I don't want
I
to
know
go
that's right.
on a date.
Woo! Woo! Talk
So,
about being put
yeah.
on blast. Oh
Yeah.
my.
So that was kind of scary. Um, to have had, and then I had a friend of mine from Georgia reach out. He had a Plenty of Fish account, and he was like, "Oh, I didn't know you were moving here." And I was like, "If here's in the DC area, then yeah." And he was like, "No, I found your image on PLF,
Oh,
and
stop
it says that you're in Atlanta, that you're 36, and you're in marketing." And I was like, "Oh well, yeah, I'm none of the above." Okay.
Wow.
Thanks for writing the vision and making it plain. Somebody speaking something of my life, but that's definitely not the truth. So yeah, that was really wild. And just from being in social settings and hanging out with different people, I've had people post my picture. Thank goodness it was nothing that was bad on my end, but everyone knows, like, I'm just really shy, so I don't want a whole bunch of. My Instagram account has 3 pictures, so I'm shy.
That's what you say, but you can type away.
I'm a typer. I'm good from behind the screen.
Okay.
In front of the camera, I'm super shy. So
Huh.
yeah,
Huh.
but
Okay.
that catfish scenario had me shook because, like I said, the young lady's blog, that particular article went viral, and my image, I didn't mind being all over the place. I was like, only the people who know me, they're only going to know it's me. Everybody else is like, oh, okay, nice chocolate, music, whatever. But when they started using my image to catfish people, and I started getting emails and text messages about, living in Atlanta, that was a bit much.
Yeah. And then you even start to wonder about your safety.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
That's definitely,
particularly as a woman.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's interesting that we're talking about this because something as simple as that could lead down to so many other areas of a potential fraud, whereas though your identity could be utilized on a more heinous and detrimental way. Like, people could open up businesses with your image and stuff like that. And one of the things that we try to emphasize is, when you are embarking in the world of becoming a professional, what your image is attached to, what your name is attached to, is very important and should be very restricted. So, Sade, I have a question. So with the whole POF catfish situation, how did you resolve it?
Well, my friend from Atlanta, he told me that he would help me email the company.
Okay.
I was very upset. And I was like, well, when things are on the internet and you don't have trademark, copyright, blah, 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 like the image can just be from whoever to whatever, and it can just steal whatever. And he's like, it's okay. Let's see if we can contact the administrators over the website. So after about a day or so, me freaking out, we did our due diligence in contacting the people over the Plenty of Fish website and sent the exact image to let them know, hey, I'm not an account holder. I literally just learned of the website because I had no clue that Plenty of Fish was a website until they started using my image to catfish people. And he got a few emails back from the team at Plenty of Fish saying they actually found multiple websites with that same image. Multiple accounts on that website with my image, using it, saying I was from. The ones he saw is because he was an account user from Atlanta. So, of course, he saw that one, but it was others as well. They said they found like over 10 accounts with that image. So,
wow.
So it made me be very mindful of how, of what I allow my image for, just trying to help out another local beauty blogger. And it I'm not gonna say it blew up in my face because thank goodness nothing bad happened. But yeah, that was a bit scary.
I can imagine. I can imagine. I'm glad that, it was eventually resolved, and you were proactive with you and your friend to actually say something, because it would be surprising to know how many people just let things like that slide. And when we let things like that slide, and whether we are apprehensive to do so, or we just don't want to take the time to even go through the process of it all, we're allowing someone else to potentially target and be a perpetrator to another victim somewhere else. So I'm just glad that you were able to, do that, and you were courageous enough to go ahead and take that person down, because it's something so innocent as, sure, I'll help you with this. This helps our culture. This helps our community. It's a win-win. Could turn into something, that's very heinous. And so yeah, that's crazy. I've been a victim of identity theft myself, and it's never a good feeling. And I know for me, I walked away being that much more mindful of what I do, where I do it, and how it's done. But the reality is, people can just snatch things with or without our consent. You know what I mean? Like we live in this type of world where everything is really in our laps and in our household. We could be on another side of the equator. Right.
And if it's accessible, if I can get to it, I can get it.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And we just have to be proactive in making sure that if we get wind of something that doesn't look right that's happening, that we reach out to the appropriate authorities and we do something about it. See something, say something, especially if you are directly involved, whether. Yeah. So I'm sure that was scary, but I'm glad that we're on the other side of that now, and we can talk about it in this platform. And for others who may not have had that experience, it's a learning lesson for them as well. So yeah, that's
I had a session earlier today with a student, and the topic of social media came up, in the appropriate use of the social media. And one of the things the student said had to do with, everyone on especially Instagram presents this, what is that? Living their best life is what the student said. And it does give a real sense of falsity or falsehood.
Yeah.
Right? About daily life, about how one lives one's life, and really what's important to a person.
Yeah.
And we had to talk about that. All experiences don't necessarily have to be documented to mean something, or to be real, or to capture the moment.
Right. No, I think that's a good idea. And also, I would dare to say that some experiences in life should be kept private and sacred, because it adds that much more value to it. But then you have those individuals that they have agendas, and so to capitalize off of every moment of life, it's not authentic. It's not authentic all of the time, and you can tell the difference between someone that truly is living their best life and someone that's trying to sell an image or try to sell a construct or a concept. So
yes. I want you to see what I want you to see.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I've learned that my best moments in life haven't been captured on camera. How about that? How about that? Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Because everything is not for everyone. And everything isn't shouldn't be public platform. I mean, to each his own. That's just my personal opinion. I think that certain things should be restricted from public exposure, depending on how special or how sacred it is to you, because it's almost like a feeling where it may appear that you are exploiting the situation. You may be exploiting the individuals in that situation. So I agree. I think some of the most memorable and cherishable moments are not caught on camera, and
Mhm.
what's caught on camera
I
is what I
remember,
want you to see.
there you go. There you go. I remember a time when video cameras were just coming out before phones.
Hmm.
And they used to get intrusive. You would have to tell your buddy, okay, that's enough with the video camera. Put that down.
Hmm.
And now we don't have that type of self-policing or that type of fatigue
Yeah.
around filming, being taped, being on camera. It's funny how it's kind of did a 180.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have that type of reference, but I'm old enough a day and DeVal.
It's like we've been desensitized to so much that
It surely blends.
it's amazing. It's truly amazing. I remember, I remember, first and second generation video cameras. And I remember when it could be intrusive to pull the Polaroid out and just get to snapping photos. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but now we're so desensitized to it that it doesn't really matter, to the point where it's not worth seeing anything, or it's so saturated and it's happening so much that we kind of just get used to it, like it's nothing different than walking a dog. And
Well,
you
how
have to
about going to a concert? Okay, how about going to you see where I'm going with this,
yeah,
Val?
yeah.
Going to a concert and the performer's in front of you, but you're looking at it through your phone.
Yeah,
Boggles my mind.
yeah,
Boggles my mind.
yeah.
I think there was I went to a Bruno Mars concert
Mhm.
and he locked up all the phones of the concert goers.
Nice.
It was the most radical thing I had ever seen, and almost kind of heart palpitations to feel,
Hmm.
because there's no preparation for it. You're in line, and if you want to go into the show, put your phone in this bag. They lock it up and take the
Mm.
key, and you get it back at the end. But wow,
Yeah,
that's the length that you have to go to. And I've heard that some other um, big name performers have done that as well,
yeah,
as a way to shut down all of that vicarious viewing while
yeah.
you're in the moment.
And it's so unfortunate because it's it would be important to be able to have your phone for security and safety purposes. But because people, are so quick to try to capture someone in the moment or capture an event to utilize it for whatever reason, all reasons that, people record things, it isn't negative, but it still could equally be intrusive. You may not have any malicious intent, but it could still be intrusive to someone else that may not be that outgoing and willing, or just even have the desire to be filmed. And
That's
so,
right.
because we are in this type of society where anything can, be recorded against your will or with consent, that we have to do things like, okay, we got to lock everybody's phone up.
Yeah, like everybody's phone up. Yeah.
And thankfully, nothing happened that anyone needed their phone.
Well,
You know what I'm saying? Because
my husband was having a hard time. He wouldn't go into the show. He stood out there for a good 15 minutes. Just didn't want to part with it. That was a moment in our marriage. But anyway, we got through it and enjoyed the show.
Somebody put the foot down somewhere. Oh man, I understand.
Yeah.
I truly understand, but it's amazing where we are and what type of measures we have to take. Because looking at it specifically, about the topic that we're discussing, it's a large mass of people that are vulnerable, to any type of exploitation or publicity of their image, what they may be doing, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, and, for the most part, looking at the artist and the celebrity and, preserving their rights and freedoms, but, the consumer and the attendant of the concert is just that important. And it's interesting. It is, nothing is safe. Like it's like we're living in TV. We're living like we're on TV.
Well, and unfortunately for people of color, the camera almost becomes a witness.
Yeah.
It takes on a different connotation for people of color.
Yeah.
There was a particular incident, and I don't know if you are also saw this, but where I think it was a young Hispanic woman and an middle-aged white woman is berating her and saying all sorts of, nasty things. You need to go back to whatever, blah, blah, blah. And she puts her hand she pushes the young Hispanic woman. And the young Hispanic woman slaps her. Now, justifiably, the whole thing, and which made her leave. Okay, it was akin to when you hit a shark on the nose to stop it from biting,
Yeah.
So, but when they interviewed the Hispanic woman, she said she would not have done that if she didn't see a young man recording the incident. He said, since I saw him recording and the whole thing, her coming at me and everything, she said, then she felt empowered enough to be able to react and stand up for herself in that way.
Yeah.
So, in a way, it's, you saw that video, completely shocked. Yes, so inappropriate. And the slap was just what she needed to bring her back to where she was and into reality.
Yeah.
But my point about the young woman having the courage because she knew it was on tape.
Yeah.
So she kind of felt like they're going to have my back because this is the witness.
Yeah, absolutely.
The video is the witness. But for people of color, it can be.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely correct, and it's so interesting how one particular situation, like recording something and filming something, could go for or against you in history. I just recall being younger, and when you are racially profiled or you're stereotyped, then the usage of recording in the camera could be used at your detriment and to your detriment. But depending on the situation and who is the individual that's actually recording, it could actually be your saving grace as well. And it's just really interesting about the type of world that we live in. And then on a whole nother side of it is let's look at the trauma of individuals that are bearing witness to atrocities and murders and brutality happening, and they're seeing it, you know, every day, every other day, every week. You know what I mean? Let's just go back to the 90s, where seeing the Rodney King video and the experience that you had. Imagine if we had access to something like that every day, multiple times a day, like seeing that on on a whole nother coast, on your
Well,
coast.
like we did with George Floyd. Every time it was on the news, they had to run that horrible footage.
Yeah. And so
yes.
Yeah, it's just interesting how, one thing that could save you, could condemn you, can traumatize you. It's interesting, really.
Yeah.
I think we have a response. It says, "I wouldn't have done it, but I don't blame her at all for doing it. Her behavior was despicable."
Indeed.
Absolutely.
Deval, you brought up a good point, and that is, I wonder about the people who have to call them, who become the witness, the ones who are doing the videotaping. Because, we know the definition of individuals who can experience trauma and be susceptible to PTSD.
Yeah.
Post-traumatic stress disorder. And that can be a result of just witnessing. It doesn't have to be that you are the actual person.
Yeah, absolutely.
No?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering about those who are the witnesses, and the trauma that they may not think is happening, but is happening to them.
I'll tell you, to your point, I'll start here. Unfortunately, as a young man, a young Black man, I've had my share of racial profiling by law enforcement. And so that teaches you to already be about your wits when you're out and about and when you come in contact. And I'll tell you that when seeing the entire Rodney King footage, for how long it went, it was that much more traumatizing, because when I looked at him, I saw me. I saw my father. I saw my cousins, my uncle, my brothers, my friends in the neighborhood. And so, not really understanding it until it sunk in, I was negatively traumatized and impacted by watching that, because you look at your environment, and you look at the reality of your environment, and like I know, in the 90s, a lot of young men that fit my description were dying, getting brutalized. It was a great deal. I just remember at times where you're wondering, is it worth going out tonight? You know what I'm saying? And yeah, a lot of people don't realize the construct of trauma and post-trauma, and how things can be latent and expose itself months later. It doesn't have to impact you immediately as you experience it. And
no.
I think that that's a topic that we all should do our due diligence, and just educating. Yeah, you took me back in time with that one. And you know what else it causes me to think about the cohort of individuals who record things and capture things regardless of what type of event it is. It could be something positive, harmless, or it could be someone being assaulted and it's being recorded for entertainment purposes. And that just really gets under my skin. You know, you take the time out to record someone being assaulted, whether verbally or physically, and you engage in it as if it's entertainment. You know, you're rooting on the individual getting beat up by five people, or you're laughing at the young lady, you know, that's getting garments torn off of them, but
Okay.
you're not stepping in to break it up.
Right.
You're not
Right.
protecting someone who could potentially, and we know now, it's an unfortunate reality. It's nothing to be killed on camera. You can die on camera, you know, and we do nothing to intervene and stop. And I understand some people are afraid, but you're either part of the solution or you're part of the problem. And if you're bold enough to videotape it and record it, you know, be bold enough to intervene and save someone's life, and you know, save someone from going to jail.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, and it actually comes back full circle to let's hear first what Sade has to say. She says these videos that I see online are traumatizing to me. So I can only imagine the type of trauma that sets in being involved with these instances. Exactly.
Yeah.
Vicarious trauma is real.
Yeah.
And that's why, to your point, Val, in terms of when we watch the images over and over, we had to be told, stop watching the images of the falling towers on 9/11.
Yeah.
Okay? Because that was the first time, at least that I remember, the news began to just have things on a loop. Every time you loop, same and loop, which is what we saw with George Floyd.
Yeah.
The loop, you know, and so when that begins to happen, there's this point of how then do we begin to get sensitized again?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah.
How do we begin to build back our humanity?
Yeah.
So that we can put the camera down and help the person.
Yeah.
So that then going back to that person doesn't go home and feel that cyberbullying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because now what they've experienced is on video on the internet.
Yeah. Which is 10 times worse than something happening.
Their own loop.
It's not recorded. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even the thought and the horror of knowing that you're being recorded is traumatizing in itself, let alone the event that's taking place.
If it's traumatic.
Yeah.
And particularly if it's malicious.
Yeah.
You know, it's different. You're walking down the street and you fall.
Right.
But if it's malicious intent, like you were saying, having garbage picked off of you, that's different.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So if you do look at it in the way of how people of color begin to internalize microaggressions around race.
Yeah.
I think there are some similarities there.
I would agree.
So social media is here to stay.
Absolutely. Too many people pay the bills off of it for it to go anywhere.
And one shuts down, another app comes up. So,
Yep.
yeah, there used to be before TikTok, there was something else, and before that, there was something else. So they just keep evolving.
Mhm. Mhm. So the policing or the monitoring of behavior to shut down inappropriate behavior should be evolving as well. Because what we find is there's just new venues popping up, and the opportunities for people to become exploited or assaulted increases.
Well, yeah, that, and then there's a whole nother level that mainstream America isn't really privy to.
Right.
That being the dark web.
Yeah.
So which is real. My son had to show me how real it was.
Yeah, I received the tutorial from my niece, and I was like, oh, so
Oh.
so what they say is true. It's not just a story. It's not just folklore. Okay.
No, there really are tunnels underneath us. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I think parents have to evolve because now they have to talk to their kids about different things. My parents didn't have to talk to me about this type of stuff.
Absolutely. It wasn't a thing.
Barely, because my kids were on the cusp, had to talk to them about it.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays, wow.
Yeah. And to your point, it's our responsibility to stay abreast of what's going on, so you're not oblivious to the possibilities. So yeah, it's funny because just looking back at my experience, the things that had to be talked about with generations behind me wasn't even a thing. So it wasn't an issue. And then there were universal things that doesn't matter what generation it is, you got to talk about it because you need to be mindful. But yeah, like we were not cyber bullied.
Mm-hmm. No.
Everyone was too excited about where technology has just taken us. So, so we're all riding that wave.
And if you got harassed on a landline, you just took it off the hook and you stopped getting calls. Easy.
Okay, we have another comment. It says, have you all seen the video of a woman from DC being thrown in the trash can recently? These horrible guys thought it was funny to exploit a woman because she's a drug user. I do not understand why people would do that, but more so find it funny to post the type of behavior online for popularity. I mean, no, I have not seen that. I think the most recent thing that I saw that was just disgusting was a young man hitting a woman in the face with a skateboard because she rejected him. And that was just despicable. So no, I haven't seen the video that you are speaking of, but yeah, you up on it, Sade. You up on it. You seen that one too? So yeah, it goes back to what we were just saying.
Videos particularly are posted. Are these posts on Facebook more so than Instagram or Twitter or?
I would say that, different ones I see on different venues. So it's
Okay.
pretty much, and I think it's really a matter of when I see it, when I get around to seeing it. So there are times where you may see something on one platform that you don't see on another.
Yeah.
But the video that I'm talking about, I saw that on both platforms.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just that egregious. Okay.
yeah, yeah. And it goes back to we've been so desensitized to a point where now it becomes entertainment. I still can't understand how individuals, and you have a cohort of individuals that take pleasure in seeing people killed, like real
Oh, like
live.
snuff films, you mean?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's like, what's wrong that we want that type of entertainment? But it's funny because it's almost medieval. Like in certain times in history, you had the Colosseum, and
Yeah.
that was a snuff film. You had in different cultures tossing children to wild animals. That was, you know,
Yeah.
entertainment. So
To
yeah,
America, so were lynchings.
absolutely, absolutely, to the point where it had the same value as going to see a
A
Bruno Mars
show.
show. Yeah,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
would
A
have
show.
you had memorabilia to sell.
Mhm.
Um, I have a really good book. I think, geez, how old is this book? It's probably about 10 to 20 years old. It's called Without Sanctuary, and it is a chronological photography book of lynching, the history
Wow.
of lynching, and different types of lynching, because a lot of people think that lynching is just being hung by a noose, but it's not. It could be a lot more graphic than that. And I tell you, it was very educating. Of course, some of the images I just couldn't look at, but reading how parents would take their children to a lynching, and they would have sandwiches and lemonade and cookies while they're setting a human being on fire, a black person on fire, a black child on fire, a black mother with child, a black man, an elderly man, someone's grandfather, grandmother. Yeah, it's a really interesting book, for the history of it, and giving you exposure to the dynamics of it. I think that is something that individuals should just be, knowledgeable of. But after a while, the images were very disturbing and alarming. And some of the images were postcards. Like, can you imagine going into the Rite Aid and there's a section of that? Yeah, interesting. Sorry about that. I kind of veered off, but I think it's all
Why?
applicable. I think it's all applicable.
Wow.
Yeah, I
That's
just don't
that's
get it.
pretty powerful. And I think if we I think back to, and I wasn't alive or born during this time, but I remember the history, and I've read the history where Emmett Till's mother wanted the casket open
Yeah, yeah, me too.
because she wanted people to see. She didn't want folks to be desensitized.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely, and that was one
So
of the most
a
courageous
strong con-
things. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
and you know what?
Wow.
I am not desensitized to that. Um, yeah, to do something like that, speaks volumes to, human rights. It speaks volumes to cultural awareness and, just being a part of a movement to change conditions. And because she did not have to put her family on blast, if you will,
No.
to the point
No.
where those images are in museums as we speak.
That's right. That's right.
And that was huge. That was huge to do.
Yes, her beautiful boy. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And to me, it's no different than
So yeah,
what we're talking about. Just the entertainment of it all, for
exactly.
popularity to exploit or even think that harming someone is funny.
Yes.
This is where, so in a world where social media isn't going anywhere,
Mhm.
the rhetorical question is, how do we make sure that we don't become desensitized and our children don't become desensitized? Because, you have to exist in a world where it exists, and we have a choice.
Yes.
Yeah, we have a choice.
Yes.
But no, Sade,
Yeah,
that video is, I've never seen that one. They threw a woman in a trash can. That's disgusting.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the discussion for today.
Absolutely.
These Friday forums, they may not. Sometimes they start off in one direction and go in another, or they're always good stuff. Sade, I'll go in the type, see if there's anything you have for us.
Thank you for your response. It's been a great discussion. I can't wait for the next one. That makes both of us. And to that
All
point,
right.
I believe next Friday the campus will be closed, so our forum will be closed.
Yeah. I didn't think of that, but yes, it will be. All right, so we'll be on hiatus.
That
Sounds
just gives
good.
us more
Sounds
time. That just gives us more time to come up with some good talking points, and give us time to really think about what we need to reflect on, what we need to listen to, and what are the areas that we need to help heal individually and collectively.
Yes, particularly collectively right now. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Sade. Thank you for joining Devel.
It is my pleasure. I get a lot out of these forums. I am a participant just as much as I am the co-facilitator. So
We'll count you in the number. Don't worry.
I learned so much from our student population and our student participants.
Indeed.
It's amazing. It's wonderful.
Indeed, yes. And Sade especially loved your chat. A strong chat game. I can see how as you're probably very good as a blogger.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I concur.
Yeah. All right. Well, going to go ahead and sign off then, if there's nothing else.
Absolutely. You all enjoy your weekend, and we'll be back.
Yeah. All righty. Okay. Everybody take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.